Here's the thing. People keep asking, why is there no official death certificate for Billy the Kid? Like it's a magic trick, like the missing paper is proof he slipped away into the dark and lived to be 97 on a ranch somewhere. It's a lie, or at least, it's the wrong question. I've watched grown adults treat a blank government record like a resurrection. They see no record found, and their brain does what brains always do when they're scared of an ending. It invents a better one. But look closer. In 1881, the West wasn't a place that documented you. It was a place that lost you. Names changed, stories changed, bodies got buried fast. And the men who lived by vanishing, men like Billy, didn't die clean. They died messy, in somebody else's house, in somebody else's version of the story. So tonight, we're not chasing myths. We're doing something uglier. We're following the paperwork like it's a crime scene. Because if you understand why the paper is missing, you'll understand the part history channels won't say out loud. A fugitive doesn't just run from the law. He runs from being provable. And one day, the bill comes due. Here's the thing. If you walk into a government office with a name and a date, you expect a clean answer, a sheet of paper, a stamp, a little rectangle of certainty that says, yes, this person lived, yes, this person stopped. So I tried it. Billy the Kid, I said, not because I believe in ghosts, but because I wanted to see what the machine does with a legend. The clerk didn't flinch. No dramatic pause, no cowboy poetry, just fingers on a keyboard, the bored rhythm of modern life. Click, click, pause, and then nothing. Not deceased, not filed, not even a polite error message that pretends it's your fault. Just the same quiet void you get when a system can't recognize what you're asking it to prove. That's the inciting incident. Not a gunshot, not Fort Sumner, not Pat Garrett's story or the 1,000 retellings that come after. It's a blank search result in a world that's addicted to documentation. And people see that blank and they go feral with it. Because a missing record feels like permission. Permission to believe he lived. Permission to believe the West was magical. Permission to believe a man can outrun consequences if he's charismatic enough. But the math doesn't work. Because the real question isn't, did Billy die? That's the question they sell you, because it's shiny and it keeps the comments section alive. The real question is uglier. Why doesn't the modern record look the way you want it to? Why doesn't the state hand you a neat certificate like a receipt? And that's where the thriller rule comes in. This is the part where I stop caring about vibes and start caring about paper. We follow only what institutions could actually produce, what a clerk could actually file, what a county could actually preserve, what a territory could actually track in a place where people changed names like shirts and bodies didn't always come with paperwork attached. That blank screen isn't proof of survival. It's proof of the world he lived in, a world where a person could be famous enough to be immortal and still die without the kind of official closure you're used to. Here's the thing. People say Billy the Kid like it's a birth name, like his mother whispered it over a cradle. It wasn't. The name is the costume. On paper, when paper exists, he's Henry McCarty. Then he's William H. Bonney. Sometimes he's Kid. Sometimes he's whatever keeps him one step ahead of the next man with a badge and a grudge. And if you've ever tried to prove anything about a person who keeps changing names, you already know how this ends. The trail doesn't snap in one place. It frays everywhere at once. Now we get to the night everyone quotes like scripture. July 14th, 1881, Fort Sumner, New Mexico Territory. Sheriff Pat Garrett goes looking for him. The widely accepted story says Garrett finds Billy in or near Pete Maxwell's place and shoots him. One shot, maybe two. The legend's spine is simple, because simple sells. Simple is what people pay for. But the details? The details are where the doubt grows teeth. It's dark, not cinematic dark, real dark. The kind of dark where your eyes lie to you because they have to. The kind of dark where a hallway is just a smear of shadow and breath. And it happens fast. No clean lineup, no formal identification, No tidy moment where everyone agrees, yes, that's him, that's the body, close the file. This is why that moment breeds doubt, not because history is mysterious, but because humans are unreliable under pressure and the incentives are rotten. The sheriff has a reputation on the line. He needs the kid dead or captured, and the public needs him to be the man who delivered. Witnesses are tangled in their own loyalties and fears. People repeat the story later, after they've heard it repeated, after it's already hardened into something useful. And once a version becomes useful, the truth doesn't stand a chance unless you can pin it down with documents. My hands were shaking the first time I really sat with that, because it means the whole myth rests on a moment designed to slip through fingers. Low light, sudden movement, and decades of retellings by people protecting their name. So the viewer question shifts without you even noticing. It stops being, did Billy die? It becomes, how fragile is truth when it has to survive inside human memory? And if the truth is fragile here, at the exact second the story is supposed to end, then you start to feel it. That cold fear that the past isn't a solid thing. It's a stack of stories that can fall over if you touch the wrong one. Here's the thing. When people say no official death certificate, they're sneaking in a modern expectation like it's universal law, like a government always had a neat little form waiting for you at the end. It's a lie. Not because the kid was immortal, because the system you're imagining didn't exist out there yet. In 1881, New Mexico Territory wasn't a modern state with tidy statewide vital records and a bureaucratic memory that never forgets. It was a territory still being assembled in real time, the kind of place where law was a person on a horse and records were whatever survived heat, dust, distance, and somebody's decision to not bother. So when you ask for an official certificate, you're basically asking a frontier territory to behave like a 20th century filing cabinet. The math doesn't work. What counted as official back then was ugly and local. It was whatever paper a town could produce and keep. A coroner's inquest if someone bothered to hold one, a jury finding scribbled down, a court filing that mentions the death sideways, a burial note, a church record, a newspaper line that reads like gossip, but was sometimes the only public ledger anyone had. And here's the part people don't like hearing. Those instruments weren't consistent. They weren't centralized. They weren't guaranteed to exist at all. You could almost feel the human hand in it. Someone decides it's not worth writing down. Someone writes it down and loses it. Someone files it and the building burns. Someone folds it into a drawer and the drawer goes quiet for 50 years. That's not conspiracy. That's the frontier. And it gets worse, because the kid didn't just die in a rough system. He died as a man who spent his whole life breaking the idea of stable identity. Henry McCarty, William H. Bonney, Billy the Kid, a rotating set of names like different faces in different towns. That works when you're alive, because confusion is a weapon. But when you're dead, confusion becomes your inheritance. A man who lived in aliases doesn't leave behind a clean ending. He dies into paperwork that was built for people who stayed put, kept one name, paid taxes, got married in the same county, and died where someone who knew them could swear, yes, that's him. And that's the regret hiding under all of this. Not just we don't have the document. The regret is what the missing document represents. A life lived so fast and so sideways that even the truth can't get its hand around you at the end. That's the real reveal. The missing certificate isn't proof he escaped. It's proof that he never stopped running, even after he was gone. Here's the thing. A missing document doesn't stay empty. Not in America, not when there's money in the legend. The moment people hear no official death certificate, the vacuum starts sucking in garbage. Claimants, sightings, secret confessions, old men in photographs with the same dead-eyed stare. And it spreads because the record-keeping era wasn't designed to kill legends cleanly. It was designed to do the bare minimum and move on. That's how you end up with a story that never gets an ending, just sequels written by strangers. And the big channels love it, because maybe he lived is a clean hook, and frontier paperwork was inconsistent sounds like homework. So they feed you the safe version, the outlaw as a mythic rebel, the West as a stage, the whole thing wrapped in a romantic haze like it's supposed to make you feel alive. It's a lie. Not necessarily the fact of his death, though people will argue that forever. The lie is what the myth does to your brain. It takes a life spent hiding, lying, switching names, sleeping with one ear open, and it turns it into freedom. Like running is a lifestyle choice, like paranoia is just living off the grid, like you can erase consequences if you're charismatic enough. But the math doesn't work, because the truth is uglier. Most men who live like that don't escape, they shrink, they lose people, they lose any stable version of themselves. They become a moving target even to their own memories. And that's why people need Billy to have survived.